Hello, good evening or good morning or wherever you are in your day. Thank you for joining us today. You've joined Clough's Expert Series podcast number 5. My name is Jillian Formentin and I am Clough's Engineering Director, and it is my absolute privilege to bring to you another of our engineering experts today. And today we're honouring World Water Day. So let me just tell you what World Water Day is. So it celebrates water and raises awareness of the 2.2 billion people living without access to safe water. It's about taking action to tackle the global water crisis. A core focus of World Water Day is to support the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals number 6, water and sanitation for all by 2030. So this year, the focus is groundwater, an invisible resource that has a visible impact globally, and it's certainly important to Perth, from where we're recording this session from. The day intends to bring attention to these resources and protect it from the overexploitation of it from users that abstract more water than is recharged by rain, snow, and the pollution that currently haunts the resources, since that can also be a contributing factor to its depletion. Clough has got a really long history in the support of, particularly, but all around Australia now, our water infrastructure. And today we're being joined by Amelia Ogilvie. Amelia is a project system coordinator at Clough. She's an engineer with 15 years experience in mining, oil and gas and infrastructure projects. So Amelia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Jillian.
You are very welcome. I've got to know you a little bit. So I've only been at Clough for a few months, and Amelia was actually one of the first people that I met here. And what really struck me was Amelia's just her grasp of the kind of projects that Clough engages in and has engaged in the past, and also her passion for great engineering. But before we get into all that and some of what this Water Day resonate with some of our projects. Amelia, would you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're a young mum, as well as all the different things you're dealing with. So just tell us a snapshot of your career with Clough so far.
Yeah, sure, Jillian. I studied engineering and commerce, majored in civil and structural engineering, and I did a management major for my commerce degree. I did a vacation work program with Clough, and when I finished the VAC work program, Clough offered me a job as a graduate. Since joining Clough, I've been able to work on a really wide variety of interesting projects, starting as a field engineer and moving through the ranks of project engineer, senior project engineer, and spending time in locations like Kalgoorlie and Karratha, time in Darwin, time in fabrication facilities in Malaysia and Indonesia, interspersed with time back in head office, sort of doing work on engineering design or some tenders work as well. But I've got a 5-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter now. So I'm Perth-based with just the occasional trip to site, and my role now is project systems coordinator. So I help our project teams get set up in our project controls and construction systems and assist them, train them to make sure they're using the systems effectively.
Okay, great. And that's actually one of the things that really interested me when I first met you, Amelia. Project controls are so important, and having over a decade of experience as a very practical engineer on the ground would give you so much strength in that. What's it like being accountable for some of the project controls, given that you've got an intimate knowledge of some of the work that Clough does?
Oh, yeah, for sure, Jillian. I've got a huge empathy for the pressures that our field teams face. And so I really understand the impact it can have if they are not properly set up on site, they don't have the right training and support, if they're doing unnecessary administration work, if there's duplication going on. So my goal is to really streamline some of the data capture processes we have on site and to make sure that we're using our data for project decision making most effectively.
Excellent. All right. We could probably do a whole podcast just on that, but let's have a bit of a chat about water, because water obviously is critical for sustaining any city, and Perth is no stranger to, the pressures of lower water. We've got a growing population and we also have a diminishing rainfall, even though this last winter you would never know. What makes water projects so important to the community?
Yeah, well, I think on a personal level, it's easy to take for granted the fact that we have a reliable water supply for, personal consumption and for household use. But water is actually a key input to many really important industries, and especially in Australia, so important to the mining industry, so important to the agricultural industry. So, as an economy, we can really flourish and take advantage of water as a key input if we are setting up to supply that effectively.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, and the management of water it's so important. I mean, we've just seen some devastating effects of too much water in other parts of Australia just recently in Queensland, and it can be, not enough water is a problem, and too much water is obviously a problem as well. So we've done some great water projects with Clough. I mean, I knew about some of these before I even joined Clough last year, and you've got to work on some really, really good ones. Tell us a bit about the Calgary Reservoir water supply project you worked on, Amelia. What was that like, and what are some of the things that stood out for you as important parts of that project?
Yeah, so the Calgary Reservoir project was the first project that I got to work on as a Clough graduate. It was an alliance, a project done by Clough, KBR, and the Water Corporation, and it was a design and construct of a 400 megalitre reservoir in Kalgoorlie. And it's a little bit difficult to understand the scale of that project, but it was two 200 megalitre cells alongside of each other. And for those that are in Perth, each cell was roughly larger, I think, than Subiaco Oval. And the water depth was probably equivalent to 4 or 5 stories high. It was a fully concrete lined cell with a fixed metal roof on it.
Oh, wow. So what were you most proud of in your part of the Kalgoorlie Reservoir project?
Sure. I think at school, we didn't often learn about many famous engineers, but I think every student at Perth learned about C.Y. O'Connor. So it was a real thrill to be able to be straight out of uni and contributing to an engineering feat that was so well known around the community and within my family, of course. And so to be able to play a small part in delivering water security to the Goldfields region was hugely satisfying for me.
Oh, very good. Yeah, it is really like doing the whole circle of that commitment to the Goldfields, having reliable water, and feeling like you're part of C.Y. O'Connor and his vision for that part of the world. That must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I think one of Clough's values, will always find a way, really echoes what C.Y. O'Connor was about. He was very publicly ridiculed for his proposal, tragically never actually saw it in operation. And this project it's a landmark project. It was the longest pipeline, I think, in the world at the time, and instrumental in delivering water to the Goldfields region and consequently that area of Australia flourishing.
Because it was really a fulfillment of a vision for him that the Goldfields will have reliable fresh water for the thriving of the area, and just making it happen. And we still use that infrastructure, don't we?
102 years later, we are still using that same pipeline. Sections of the pipe obviously been decommissioned and replaced, and it's heritage listed now. Yeah, but it's fantastic that is still the engineering solution for the problem.
And then there was all sorts of, the public were all kind of crazy about that at the time, because, this was a time when if people didn't believe things, they were scared of it. But there's a bit of that goes on now, even in our modern world, isn't there? If people don't believe something, then they get scared and there might be some public outcry. When you were working on the Kalgoorlie Reservoir project, was there some public issues about that?
Look, the reservoir itself was designed to hold water for Kalgoorlie, its consumers, its businesses, when the pumping from C.Y. O'Connor's pipeline could not keep up with peak summer demand. So, look, they were largely supportive of the reservoir. It could guarantee water supply and water quality. It could minimise water restrictions for them during those peak summer months.
That's good. I can really see the sense of pride that you had in further completing that Goldfield vision. Kalgoorlie's a big, it's quite a sizable city now, way bigger than it was back in C.Y. O'Connor's day, but he must have seen the future that was possible in that part of the world and wanted to make sure it could thrive. And there you are out there with the team, making sure that the future's extended even further. That's pretty cool. There's another one that you got to work on, and I think I heard you share about this in my first few weeks with Clough too, Mundering Weir. This was a great Clough project, and it's very complex, I understand. There are lots of different aspects to that too. So what are you most proud of about the Mundering Weir project?
So 10 years later in my career, it was fantastic to then be working literally at the other end of C.Y. O'Connor's pipeline at Mundering Dam, which was a hugely technical project, a small project, but hugely technical.
What were the most important things that we were trying to achieve in that project?
Sure. So the original dam was constructed in 1902, just before the Golden Pipeline was commissioned. And the original pipework, the cast iron pipework that ran through the intake tower, was severely corroded. Valves were largely inoperable. And so the dam was being forced to operate at a minimum operating level significantly higher to align with some inlet pipework that had been constructed during the 1950 elevation of the dam. The demand from that reservoir was so high that the opportunity for the Water Corporation to be able to lower the minimum operating level and release like a one-off injection into the water supply, plus to lower the minimum operating level of the dam. So this was going to serve two purposes. It was going to release a one-off injection of water into the water supply for the goldfields, but also by lowering the minimum operating level of the dam, you were decreasing the surface area of the dam and then consequently decreasing the evaporation from the dam as well.
Very good.
There was the opportunity to save 1.5 gigalitres annually of water from that dam just by decreasing the surface area.
Very good. And do you know that was it successful? Like, I know we did all the right engineering and we followed the specs. Do we know whether that they actually did realise those results from the dam?
Yeah, I understand they are.
All right. Now, I also understand that we did a fairly groovy flyover of that project. Was that one or was it a different one?
Yeah, we should provide the link in this podcast. There's a really neat video which shows one of the key critical lifts for the project. So the project included removing all the corroded cast iron pipework down the centre of the intake tower and replacing it with a 2.7 metre diameter stainless steel liner, which Clough lifted in one lift into the intake tower, and there was, I think, something like 40 mil clearance all around the liner, and it was threaded into the original intake tower of the Mundering Weir.
Oh, cool. And the flyover shows all that happening, does it? Like a time release kind of thing, is it?
Yeah, there's a fantastic video available which also shows the beauty of the natural surrounds as well.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, we'll have to hunt that down and make that available for people. That's good. I'm going to go look at that myself. All right. And when you look out at your career, Amelia, I know you've had 15 years with Clough so far, and what else are you out to create with your career?
Yeah, I'm really passionate, Jillian, about the way we perform our work. I recognise that the construction industry has a long way to go in terms of improving our efficiency, the way that we plan and execute our projects. There is a lot of opportunity in that area. So some of the work that I'm involved with now is really examining our processes, looking at technology, the way we leverage technology to be able to get better visibility on our readiness to execute a project. I'm heavily involved in some of those technology projects now and applying the new technologies to our project execution.
Fantastic, because one of the things that I'm passionate about is the full self-expression of engineers and in engineering and those project controls. I think we sometimes underestimate how important it is to give people the foundation to do their best work and to really bring forth that, Clough, that real Clough creative pioneering element that we bring. We can't do that without good controls and measures and, well, the ability to measure our great work. How great is that? It gives me a huge sense of satisfaction. So I'm really thrilled that we've got your eyes and ears on that, Amelia.
Thanks, Jill.
Well, Amelia, thank you so much for joining us today. That's brilliant. I learned a whole lot about water projects, and we've got very exciting water corporation projects that we're hoping to be part of and fulfilling on here in Western Australia over the next 3 to 5 years. So it's very exciting times. So maybe we'll be continuing the legacy of Clough's water partnership here in Western Australia and all around Australia. So thank you very much, Amelia. It's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Thanks, Jillian.
You're welcome. And thank you all for joining us from wherever you are today. If you're listening to us from your car or you're at your computer, wherever you are, please stay tuned to future podcasts as we bring you some of Clough's experts and some of the exciting work that we're up to. We'll bring our next one to you in April. All right. And have a happy World Water Day.